Hello, I'm Allie Robertson. I'm 20 years old and this is the first video of my channel. So I just kind of want to start this channel to talk about stuff that I've gone through, life experiences. I feel like people always come to me actually with questions about just like life and stuff, and I feel like I've walked through a lot of things in life and I would love to be able to share the knowledge that I've gained through life and things that I've walked through. I think it's super important to share our experiences with others so then we can all come together and just learn and be knowledgeable about stuff in life that comes our way and know how to combat emotions and things that hit us as we're going through everyday life. So today the topic was going to be mainly on social media. So I went on a social media fast for around 2 years. I was out of the country abroad for about a year, so Wi-Fi super limited. Probably got access to the internet once every 2 weeks, so I counted that whole year pretty much as not having it just because it was super out of my life. I would post a couple times, not really to update myself, but to update my family with just a quick send to them what I was doing. So I don't think that really counts as me being immersed in social media for a year, so I count that year as not having it. Then the year I came back to the United States, I started college, and that year I didn't have social media, which was super interesting, starting a new school and a new life without social media, what that looked like. And I'll get more into that and the things I learned from going into a brand new situation without having anything on me, like a very clean slate, which was so cool. So much stuff I learned through that experience. But I first want to start off with the definition of knowledge. So knowledge is facts, information, and skills acquired by a person through experience. So I feel like I have knowledge on the topic of social media and the benefits and the positive and the negative sides of it, just because I've been fully immersed in it and fully immersed out of it for such a long time that I feel like I have actual valid knowledge on this topic. And so that's why I really feel like I should share it with people. So diving into the first point is the value of a personal memory. So when you take a picture, it's normally a picture of something that you value. You don't take a photo or want to capture a memory if that memory didn't mean something to you. So normally it's something of you and your friends having just an amazing day, and you love that photo so much because it takes you back to that day that you were at the beach, hanging out at dinner, just doing something with your friends or with your family or something that you loved doing. And so already that picture that you captured has a very high value to it. It's valued to you because it's the memory that's tied along with the photo. And the definition, I really love definitions, of personal means belonging to a particular person rather than anyone else. And which yes, we knew that definition, but I think it's always cool when you just get a little more. So I was thinking about that and that definition, and it was if it belongs to you and it doesn't belong to anyone else, it's kind of important who you share it with, who you share that memory with in the form of a photo. Because when you have something, say you have whatever that is just yours, your favorite sweater, your thing, you're kind of careful about who you lend it out to. You're not just going to lend it to anyone. You're going to want to know that that person is going to, take care of what you're trusting them with. And so I think that's kind of the same with social media. It's something that we don't really consciously think of, but I think we do go through the repercussions of experiencing what it feels like when it is kind of taken or our memory is devalued. We do get that second blow, but I don't think we consciously think of it while we're putting stuff out into the world. So I think that's something to just be aware of. And also all these things I'm talking about are just to be points of awareness. Not that I think social media is awful or anything like that. I mean, I think it's super helpful in today's culture, and it's kind of necessary for jobs and certain things. And so I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying that there's things that we need to be aware of and how it affects us personally, so we can combat against, feeling the negative side of social media. So yeah, that topic of just that you have this memory and that it's so important. And every time you put a picture out there, that, I mean, think of it in the form of numbers. So that memory to you is a 10. You're not going to post really something or capture it if that memory just wasn't awesome to you. So already that memory to you is like a 10 on the charts, you know? And you put it out there and slowly you look and you're like, this isn't getting as many likes as I thought it would. You know, my friends aren't commenting. Why didn't they tell me that, like, that looks fun? Because it was fun. You know, why aren't they as excited as I am? But to be honest, they're never going to be as excited as you are. They didn't experience that. They didn't walk through it like you did. They didn't have the memory that you had. Like, it's not a 10 for them, and it's never gonna be a 10 for them looking at your photo. So you have to know that going in, that you're not gonna get as much out of it as you felt when you were in it, you know? So just being aware of that, like, every time, you have to know that once you put something out there that's of such high value, you have to be aware of not letting people devalue it. And so I think that's one big point that I learned, just like not having it, realizing that photos do hold power and they do hold lots of special memories in them. A second point that I wrote down is it affects levels of pride. And on that, I kind of have a personal testimony. So I remember I was in Thailand, and I had taken a picture, I think it was of me and like an elephant. And I remember like loving that photo so much and loving that memory and loving that experience. And then as I put it out, I started to analyze, like, what is my main thought of posting this on the internet? And I thought, I was like, oh my gosh, I want my friends at home to know what a cool experience I'm having and to be jealous of me. Like, when I broke it down, I wanted someone to be jealous of me. And that hurt my heart. Like, I stopped and I remember just being like, oh my goodness. Like, when I genuinely thought about it, like, I hated coming to that realization that I wanted someone to be jealous of me. Like, that just spoke like super negatively into my character, but it was true at that point. And so I was like, ouch, that hurt. And so I just like also started realizing, like, social media affects my pride. Like, it can make your pride soar, and it can make your pride like sink. And so it really does affect your pride. And you're like always analyzing, like, hey, why am I putting this out there? And, you know, like, your thoughts behind it. Like, am I genuinely doing this to like raise my pride? You know, because that's right there. Like, you can be personally always trying to better yourself in ways of like just everything you do, like being like, hey, what's the why behind this? You know, it doesn't have to be some big deep thing, but just like, what's my why? You know, I think that's super important. Another point to this topic is it kind of made me take photos for other people. I realized one of my examples was when I didn't have social media, I fell in love with VSCO, which I probably had 5 followers on VSCO, and they were like my best friends from home. Like, it was definitely a thing that it wasn't for followers. I probably got no likes on the photos. I really don't even know, but I would fall in love with, like, I fell in love with photography and taking pictures of things that like really mattered to me and was super special to me. So I got to make this like board and gallery of pictures that like pinpointed all these memories and like impactful moments in my life that I could like flip through as a slideshow and being like, I remember that day. I remember the crazy, amazing like adventure that happened that day. I remember what I learned that time. I remember reading that quote and being, you know, mind blown. Like, and all of these are captured in photos, and it was like just such a fun thing. Like, I loved posting on there literally just because it was my own gallery, and it didn't get commented on, it didn't get liked on, it didn't all these things. But then when I realized, I was like, I thought, you know, like, would I have posted this on Instagram? And I was like, oh no. And I was like, whoa, you know, like, time to analyze that. Like, why is my first reaction I wouldn't have posted that on Instagram? And then I like realized that there's definitely a culture in Instagram that like just holds kind of a higher standard than other things. Like, what you put on your bedroom wall is maybe not what you're gonna put on your social media profile, because you'd put stuff that's more genuine and more real and more raw and things that only you can see. And then that also is super interesting to me of like, you know, right there, it's like, what image am I putting out for people, you know? So I feel like that was something, just the social media standard, like what is that and what are pictures to you of like things that really matter and things that are so genuine to you. Are you taking photos, for yourself? Or are you taking photos for others, or to uphold this like kind of untalked about standard that's out there? Fourth, which this one was super interesting to me actually, and I didn't realize until I went into college without a social media. So I got first impressions of everyone, like genuine first impressions. And it was the most fun thing ever. Like I didn't go into a situation knowing like, hey, your social media profile is super sick. You have all of these followers. Like you're already cool in my head. So I'm going to treat you with more respect. And I'm going to try to be your friend more than I am of someone whose social media profile might look like, you look a little odd, I got everyone face value, and it was so cool. And it just to be like, I knew nothing about their past. I knew nothing about their families, about all of these things. I literally, the first word that came out of their mouth to me was the first thing I got of them. Like everyone got to be on a clean slate, and it changed my relationships with people. Like it made me dive deeper into people I think I maybe wouldn't have because of like this, I guess subconscious already knowing that this person's value through their social media page. I valued everyone the same. And I think that's something that's also gotta be on everyone's radar. Like if you're gonna go into a situation already knowing that you're kind of interested in becoming friends with someone because their social media presence is like, I don't know how to say it, very good. Like their social media presence is just really together, and like it looks like they have all these friends and they have this lavish lifestyle, and you're like, oh yes, we're gonna be friends, so I can kind of like hop in on that lifestyle. Which you just have to be super aware of that, of like, no, you need to go into every situation being like, I've seen that of them and I know that they have that, but I need to erase that from my memory when I meet them. And I need it to be genuine, because that's how relationships are built. They're not built on, fake things or having like ulterior motives of like, oh, this person looks fun, I want to be fun. Like it's not that. It's literally like when they open their mouth and they speak to you, that's who they are. It's not what they post is who they are. It's the words that's coming out of their mouth. It's the conversations they're having. It's the, the calls when you're not feeling good and they call you and they, care about your heart and care about what's going on in your life. And they'll, walk to your room, knock on the door and be like, hey, do you need something? Hey, this. Like, and you just have this genuine relationship. It's based on nothing that's like social media. It's not based on taking pictures together. It's, all of that aside, it's like, just such a clean slate. Like it was such a cool experience, and I definitely would recommend that to other people. If you're gonna go into something that's like really new and you're about to meet a huge like new group of people, to not look at social media before you go in and not try to find anyone before you go in, because then you meet everyone at their like face value, and it's so cool. And something I also realized from that like kind of hopped into my head, which was weird, but I'm glad I noticed. So there's one boy, and I remember in college we would have like these great conversations. One night we stayed up in like our dorm lobby for a long time, just kind of chatting about life, and I got to see his heart and like the things he cared about, and I was so interested. I was like, wow, this guy's super interesting. And I hadn't really ever thought of it, and I was like, wow, just thinking like he's a cool person. I like the things he values. We kind of value the same things. We think alike, like all of these things that I really got to think about. And later, so now I do have social media, and I'll talk about that in a little bit too. But then I saw a social media profile actually recently, and I was like, oh my gosh, this kid is like social media famous. And a little bit in my head, he jumped up on the scale in my head. Like I thought he was cool, I thought he was great, all these things, but like he jumped up. He didn't deserve to jump up. Nothing he did, like having a social media presence, should not put him a notch higher in my head. He was already here. He was great. Like I valued him as a person. I do not need to add to his value as a person because of his social media presence. And like when I noticed that I did that, I was like, oh my gosh, like other people also need to know that, like, just to be aware of these things of like, how you value people and how social media affects the value you place on people. So that super interesting. And so I wanted to get to why I have social media now. So I really tried not to have it for so long. My friends would always make fun of me like, Allie, like you have to have social media. We have no idea how to keep up with you. Some of my friends from like back home, I've now moved to California, and I used to live in Alabama. Some of my friends are like, we have no idea what you're up to. Like, where do you live? Like, what's going on? It's just funny, like being so off the grid, which I love being off the grid because sometimes I think the grid can be a little, I don't know, suck the life out of me. And, but I think I have it now just to keep up with people. I'm transferring schools, and so that year at college, when I didn't have any form of social media, I met a lot of really cool people, and like I didn't get everyone's number, but we were friends. And so I think a more casual way than always having everyone's number is just kind of following them on social media. I think that is more casual than having everyone's number. Like some people you're not always going to text, but you still want to see, you know, what they're doing in life. And if you guys cross paths in the future, you would definitely want to like link up with them and things like that. And so since I'm transferring schools, I was like, okay, I think it's the time. Like it's been 2 years of being off the grid. I should probably, you know, get a social media, follow like my best friends from college. Like I didn't even follow like my roommates. And so I really wanted to keep up with them and like what they're doing in life. But now that I've had, you know, this fast off of it, or this just like cleanse away from it, I'm able to look at it from such a healthier perspective of like what is social media to me and like how it's supposed to be used and how it's supposed to be used in a healthy way. Because I think like the majority of people, because I'm literally speaking about this from experience, I think the majority of people do use it in an unhealthy way. And there's just so many things to be aware of and to be on your radar that you don't realize until you don't have it, of how it affects you. And so I just wanted to share that little bit of wisdom and knowledge from my personal experience. And so let me know if you want me to post more videos. I have a few other topics I want to do. One of my topics my next video that I want to do is talking about relationships of the opposite sex, of just kind of like the imaginary pedestal you have in your head that you can put people on that I don't think have always earned the space to be on that pedestal. So it's a big topic, something that I've walked through, of just kind of like putting people higher up in my head than they've ever earned that spot of being there. Like they've never proved themselves of being there. They've never, you know, shown their true colors and, you know, been able to be on a pedestal in my head, but I've put them there just because of my own wants and compromising everything to make this perfect person and putting them, you know, so high up in my mind. So long, big topic, which will probably be the next video. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I would love to do more videos and just share my knowledge. And so I hope you guys really got something out of that. It's a big part of my life, so enjoy.